So Weinstein is on trial right now, currently, from many Jane Does in Los Angeles County, accusing him of assault and R-word. And his lawyer, Mark Worksman, is really quite the poet, describing what these women's intentions were.
Bringing chauvinism and hatred to women almost to a level of eloquence and poetry.
It's quite shocking. He said, "Look at my client. He's not Brad Pitt or George Clooney. Do you think these beautiful women had sex with him because he's hot? No, it's because he's powerful." He said that in Hollywood, transactional sex was par for the course in a way that it isn't today. Sex was a commodity for rich and powerful men like my client, he said. Weinstein's attorney said that he got his own nickname, the casting couch.
Wow.
Transactional sex, it may have been unpleasant and now embarrassing, Worksman said, but everyone did it. He did it. They did it. And he said that the Me Too movement is like a movie that turned Weinstein into Hollywood's Chernobyl, casting him in the smoldering radioactive part of the bad guy.
I feel like he wanted to be a writer in another lifetime.
I mean, clearly he is one. This is amazing.
Did you put this guy in Rings of Power?
Honestly, yeah, better prose than the Rings of Power.
They're like,
script.
could you tell us about Sauron in like the most vivid way possible?
Listen, Sauron just wanted power, and that's a completely human desire.
It's normal. It's a commodity.
The sequel to the casting couch is the Me Too trial. They will play the part of the damsel in distress with this beast. They have to lie to themselves, to you, to this court. Their hypocrisy is on full display. Really quite shocking.
I'm of two minds of this. Number one, I want Mary to narrate my life after that. After just reading this guy, for some reason he's sounding very powerful and commanding. And the second is that I don't... God, I'm really scared to talk about this. But, like, I don't know the details of this thing.
There's a couple of them that seemed... The very first one that came out today, the lady who was like a Russian actress who was in America for a film festival is saying that he attacked her in a hotel room, similar to what Jennifer Siebel's Newsom, Gavin Newsom's wife, is saying he did in 2005.
She is Jane Doe number 4 in this case.
I started hyping her up a couple weeks ago. Like, there was a bunch of like Puff Beef articles being like, who is like the first partner of California? Here's some stuff. And then this hit, and I was like, oh,
first gender neutral partner.
How interesting that you guys suddenly just magically had all these profiles go up about her right before this.
I think I heard the audio of the Russian lady that you're talking about, and it was pretty disturbing because it was like, you ain't getting out of here or something like that.
Hers rang quite true in the courtroom. So for that, it's like I'm of two minds, right? Like, for the ones that rise to the level of assault, that stuff is abhorrent and awful. But then it's always kind of commingled. Like you said, they've coalesced under the banner of all being into one movement. So the women who just went along with it because they wanted to get a role are being put into the same camp as the women who were actually physically assaulted.
The women with varying degrees of seriousness to their allegations are all in a coalition right now, and some people believe that it ultimately hurts the ones with the most serious claims.
Yep.
In fact, I was just looking at a press conference that Rose McGowan did where she was talking about how Weinstein's lawyer, David Boies, also made a coalition for victims of Ghislaine Maxwell, that ultimately took the focus off of Weinstein.
Yeah.
And made Ghislaine Maxwell the focal point of all of those accusations and of Me Too, taking the focus off of his client. And also in that press conference, Rose McGowan said that Gavin Newsom's wife, I'm just going to call her that,
Jennifer Siebel.
Gavin Newsom's wife sent an email to Rose McGowan and other accusers of Harvey Weinstein saying that they should all form a coalition together under the representation of David Boies.
Unbelievable.
And he is believed to be now controlled opposition.
Yeah.
Wow.
So much to look into there. But Gavin Newsom's wife alleged R-word by Weinstein in 2005 in a hotel room. I'm not going to get into the graphic details of that, but
do you want to talk about the fake orgasm?
Well, you just went and mentioned it, so
we have to at least mention. I didn't know if that's what you were dancing around. I think it has to be mentioned.
Okay, Weinstein's attorney called it no more enthusiastic signal of consent than yes, yes, yes. So Mr. Weinstein believed that she consented.
They're saying that she faked an orgasm to get out to make the attack end quicker.
Oh my God, dude, this is
I think it's so hard to talk about these things because there are scenarios where like I could legitimately believe someone would do that if they were really being like assaulted or like whatever the dynamic is. And I do think that like power dynamics play into pressure that people feel like they may have to like have sex with someone or do whatever. Like I don't want to downplay that. It's just like I think that kind of pressure and then the culture that supports it is different than like physical assault, and both can be serious, but like to roll them into one actually seems to dilute some of the seriousness of
it makes it harder for people to talk about, right?
And it makes me wonder if the people whose cases were 2005, like you don't have any evidence, there's no video camera footage of them leave, like you can't really corroborate a lot of these stories. Like if by bundling the cases together with people who do have hard evidence, it lends legitimacy to something else, which may be legitimate, may not. I'm not a lawyer and I was not involved in this, but like it's just hard to say because like.
But it can discredit like the ones with hard evidence.
That's what I mean. But like if you had hard evidence for something and I was like, yeah, that happened to me too. If you win your victory and we're a bundled lawsuit, then I also win, even though I didn't have to show the same level of evidence that maybe you did.
This is kind of what I was talking to you about earlier. Like my point was like, yes, there are no R-word kits. There's no DNA evidence, but there's other ways that you can at least corroborate that they were in the same area at the same time, right? And the older those clips get, the farther back those claims go, the harder and harder it is to corroborate that. And lumping them all into one coalition of people, it does a disservice to the people that are actually like were severely attacked.
It ultimately strengthens Weinstein's case and makes it way easier for Mark Worksman, his attorney, to use clever wordplay to lump them all together as having the same level of credibility. And specifically in Jennifer Siebel Newsom's case, Gavin Newsom continued to get financial backing in his political campaigns from Weinstein after this alleged assault occurred. And it doesn't lend credence to her allegation at all. Worksman said she'd be just another bimbo who slept with Harvey Weinstein to get ahead.
Dude, just use bimbo without a thought in his head. Incredible.
Defense attorneys are just allowed to say anything these days, I guess. And another thing that I wanted to bring up in regards to this trial is the Brad Pitt produced film She Said, which is coming out next month.
Yeah.
Less than a month from now.
And
on November 18th, I believe.
And his attorney is worried that it's going to color people's opinions of the trial.
So Harvey Weinstein's lawyer actually, back when this trial started on October 10th, requested that the trial be postponed until January next year, just so that they could avoid the media storm that would follow from it. This movie, produced by Brad Pitt, is about the downfall of Harvey Weinstein. It's a fictional or like fictionalized, dramatized retelling of the story of two New York Times reporters who originally made the expose on Harvey Weinstein's behavior. And that was a huge part of what kicked off the Me Too movement.
Man, I feel like this is the tragedy of our times, dude. The tragedy of our time is that nuance has been murdered 1,000 times fold by nefarious parties.
Thank you.
And here we are in a situation that really deserves a lot of scrutiny and a lot of bias and understanding, and we're so divided, and consent and agreement is so commodified and trivialized that some people are going to get justice and some people aren't, man.
I don't.
There are bad people on all sides of this issue.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
totally agree. And the theory that Gavin Newsom's wife is some type of controlled opposition against other victims who have way more serious allegations than hers even, it's concerning to say the least.
And that she's such a powerful person, that allegedly that, that would present something like this under a positive light, but under the guise of helping the abuser. It's so, the energy is just so messed up with this.
I was looking to see who plays him in the movie. There's no Harvey Weinstein person listed. I thought maybe they'd race swap Harvey Weinstein. Maybe
right now
maybe they gender swap Harvey Weinstein in the
he's-
movie.
Two reporters played by Zoe Kazan and Carrie Mulligan. And it's coming out as a theatrical release in November. And the judge in this trial rejected Weinstein's attorney's request to postpone the trial because essentially she said you can't avoid a huge amount of media coverage for this trial regardless of what happens.
Yeah.
So if you waited for it to blow over, you would wait forever.
Yeah,
basically.
Go on forever.
I also wanted to bring up a Lana Del Rey song from 2011 or maybe, no, it was like 2012 called Cola. And the implications it had, she, in that song, called out Harvey Weinstein by name. And
Which
she
would be
has
pretty shocking considering he was still in power at that time.
Yeah, and an anonymous source, unconfirmed source for Page 6 claimed that she named him in this song after he made advances at her and she rebuffed him in 2012. It's confirmed that she first met Harvey Weinstein in May 2012 when he approached her at Cannes Film Festival wanting to make her into a movie star.
You're going to be a star.
And when Harvey Weinstein approaches you saying that he can make you a star, I'm sure, you should be worried. And that never ended up panning out. They also had a high-profile lunch date in July 2012, just a couple of months after that. And she, I think, was associated with him as late as 2014 when he requested that she write a track for Tim Burton's movie Big Eyes.
I'm surprised she never did a Bond theme song.
She's definitely a Bond girl archetype.
I feel like
she makes a lot of songs that...
I feel like she could have easily written the same Skyfall that Adele wrote.
Her lyrics are really controversial, actually, because she writes about abuse and power dynamics, but in a disturbingly honest way about how women sometimes use those power dynamics to their advantage.
And the feminists don't like that.
That quote you read about her from...
Her question for the culture in
I
2019. She feels like there's been a double standard against her because other so-called feminists in the music industry make a lot of so-called sex-positive lyrics about how they express their sexuality, but when she does it in a way that's less, I say, politically correct, then it's considered unfathomable and she's shamed for it.
Almost less narratively correct rather than politically correct.
Because they claim that she romanticizes abuse. That's the basic claim against her. And I think even if that is what her music is doing, which I'm not sure it is, even if it is though, is that not her artistic right?
Yeah, because music is supposed to be cathartic.
Remember there's all those articles about how rappers are not supposed to be able to be tried based on the song lyrics they write about stuff that's far more vulgar. Right?
Anyway, that source to Page 6 also claimed that Harvey threatened Lana Del Rey with legal action if she did not change the lyric of her song Cola to take out his name. And ultimately, she did change the song lyric from Harvey's in the sky with diamonds to he's in the sky with diamonds.
She's like, I got a fix for this.
And there are other lyrics in the song like I've got a taste for men who are older. And I know your wife and she wouldn't mind.
It speaks a lot to also think about not just that, but think about what he's gotten away with. Think about Kevin Spacey just got the Anthony Rapp case just got dismissed. in court, right? And then all the articles conflated.
Yeah.
They're like Harvey Kevin Spacey found innocent. I'm like, not innocent,
No.
but found not liable for the vague claim.
There's a reckoning for Me Too happening right now.
Do you think that that all of these cases would have benefited more if they'd made it through the court system quicker when there was more
this is
outrage?
after the pomp and glamour of
Yeah.
that movement has completely died down and become memory hold, really.
Yeah, like a
Rose
people.
McGowan. Think of the position she's ended up in, where she's just had her credibility entirely stolen from her.
Yep, and do you think about Amber Heard this summer, where the whole thing got blown up into
Yeah,
something completely
and
else entirely?
now
Or-
Brad Pitt, by the way,
That was
has history with Harvey Weinstein. Allegedly, Harvey Weinstein made a pass at Gwyneth Paltrow back in 1996, I believe, and Brad Pitt found out about it and actually confronted him and threatened him with what he called a Missouri whooping.
Well,
He made it clear there would be consequences.
That's worse than.
He said he threatened. Gwyneth said he threatened Harvey, got right in his face, poked him in the chest, and said, "You will not ever do this to Gwyneth ever again." He was dating Gwyneth Paltrow at the time.
There's a dark comedy movie to be made about a woman who makes it in the industry with Harvey Weinstein's help without him making a pass at her, and she just thinks she's extremely ugly because Harvey Weinstein slept with every woman in Hollywood but doesn't make a pass at her.
Who would that be, though?
Meryl
Streep?
No,
I mean, Meryl Streep was known for setting these girls up
But
with
what's
him.
Her
that-
name,
the
who was
age
dating
makes
Jack
sense.
Anton for a while, Lena Dunham.
so you're
Lena
saying Meryl
Dunham.
Streep is a piece of shit?
So
Not confirmed.
the
And here's another piece to this story. Angelina Jolie fought with Brad Pitt when they were married in 2009 because Brad Pitt did Quentin Tarantino's movie Inglourious Bastards, despite the fact that the Weinstein Company was a financer for that movie. And Angelina Jolie had a prior experience where she narrowly escaped an assault from Harvey Weinstein in a hotel room. And she thought that this was a betrayal. I completely see it from her point
Yeah,
of
I
view.
do
Like,
too.
I
I
would
agree.
be so angry. And
Well, especially if you've had to personally threaten him before.
Right.
Like, why would you do that?
it's ironic
But
now that Brad Pitt is in this situation that people are comparing him and Angelina Jolie to Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. I don't think it's a super... I don't know. I don't think it's a super salient comparison. People are just looking for the next big, trial media storm that's low enough stakes that you can make memes about it, right? But it's just ironic that he's coming out with this movie now because he's getting compared to Johnny Depp, who was kind of unfairly framed as an abuser for so long in the media.
Yep. So that's the whole, like, every time the Weinstein thing comes up, I hesitate to cover it because there's just so many layers to it that are all so bad for you if you get it wrong. Like, you could get one fundamental detail wrong and it makes your whole take awful. If, like, you don't point out that, like, look, yes, there were women that are absolutely accusing him of brutal assault in which he forced them to do things, but they're being conflated with women that just went along to get along because they wanted to get ahead. And if you mix that up, that's bad,
this might
so.
make me sound like a bad person, but I don't actually care about the details of each and every accusation. I care about what its implications are for the entertainment industry as a whole. And do abusers still feel like they can get away with the same predatory behavior that they had pre-Me Too?
I think
I
that-
think the
Interests
answer
me-
is that they do feel just as comfortable in that industry.
Oh yeah,
well, I feel like to have a full like reckoning of Harvey Weinstein, like yes, he should be held legally accountable for like the things that they have evidence for, and I believe there's a ton. But also, like, what about people who like enabled this crime? Where are the accessories to
the
his
Oprah
abuse?
Winfrey's, who, like,
Right.
the creepy
Or the
picture
The
of her,
Oprah
like-
Winfrey, who co-founded the Time's Up movement, acting like she was never actively part of the problem.
Yeah. I think
Like,
that's
F you.
That's part of the issue, and it's not
Hypocrite.
even like it's the big name people. It's like bodyguards or security guards or personal assistants who saw this and in some way enabled it. Like, we are only punishing one person, and I think in some way Hollywood was quick to abandon Harvey Weinstein, which obviously they should. He doesn't sound like a good guy, but like because they need to cut ties, because anyone else involved, theoretically should also be held to a certain degree of responsibility.
And it's not done. Just because you're done within doesn't mean like the assaults are done. And to quote one of my favorite quotes from video games, war never changes. And I think we have seen in a way the result of the Me Too movement with these intimacy coordinators and whatnot. I'm sure they existed before, but clearly not as prevalent or as important, right?
Yeah.
And weirdos will be weirdos, and they'll make their ways, and they'll pretend to be, people's friends, and they'll do what they have to do.
I don't
Sadly.
even think intimacy coordinators have done anything to solve this problem.
Bill Murray is still jumping on top of women and
straddling
also,
them
like,
and making out with
an
them.
intimacy coordinator theoretically would be like an on-set person, whereas Harvey Weinstein is like
Yeah.
on the outside of the process.
That's
like,
before
that
you even
doesn't-
get to be on
it
the
doesn't
set.
solve the issue, because the issue is outside of the set. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's stuff that goes on sets that it's inappropriate or potentially dangerous, but like the stuff with Harvey Weinstein has to do with like people's desperation to set themselves apart from the millions of other people, thousands of other people going out for the same parts as you. And like, he knows that, and that was like, that power and that position still exists in Hollywood.
Imagine you walk into a room for an interview with Harvey Weinstein, and sitting to your right, he's like, "This is Janice, my intimacy coordinator." Why is there an intimacy coordinator in this room with us right now at this meeting? I don't want to know.
I mean, we talked about the intimacy coordinator situation and dynamic on the House of the Dragon set, where they had a 17 turned 18-year-old actress. She was casted at 17 with parts in her script that were intimate scenes, like sex scenes. And they waited until she turned 18 to start filming those scenes. And the intimacy coordinator was an active part in making her feel like that was a normal situation, feel comfortable with that, accept that as just, something actresses do.
You just
Like-
gotta do it.
Yeah.
Gross.
Like, and she admitted that she was frightened by the idea of doing scenes like that before, but they obviously groomed her into thinking that it was okay.
And I'm going to hate it because in 10 years, I'm going to have to endure her annoying article where she talks about how her brave story coming out as a victim of grooming by Hollywood, while we're all here like, duh.
And that's what I mean by, so the result of this is intimacy coordinators, because it's
Yeah.
never change. It's the illusion of change. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, did you get assaulted? Well, I'm going to hashtag about it.
Well, and it's
like,
the corporate. It's
how does that help?
It's how corporations solve extremely, extremely nuanced, detailed, oftentimes awful problems, right? Like,
Yeah.
you cannot solve this with a corporate. There's no corporate solution. to
It's
this.
more
Even
than
Brad
corporate.
Pitt's movie is
Yeah.
profit driven.
Yeah.
I'm actually intensely interested in it, and I want to watch it if it's released in theaters widely enough that
It's
it'll
out
be near
here.
us. Yeah.
But it's more than corporate. It's an archetype of disingenuous person, I feel, in the world, that their way to combat issues, be it this or be it anything else, is always awareness.
Yeah.
This vague,
We have to open a discussion.
Right.
About, yeah.
this
like-
vague, unhelpful,
Yeah.
fuddy-duddy, all about emotions, nothing about action.
Yeah, it's always we have to open a dialogue about something, never actually solve any problems. Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.